All right, guys. Welcome back to the Juno Communications, the Inside Scoop, where you can find us interviewing up and coming project built on Juno. I'm thrilled to announce we have today Jacob, Daniel, Risby, who'll be joining us a little bit later, hopefully, from the Gelotto team. And first of all, thank you for coming on, guys. We're excited for the chat today. Before we get into it, how are you all doing?
Getting
Awesome.
by.
Great. And thanks for having us here. I'm really I'm glad we've been around this long and have a chance to talk to you. And thanks.
Very welcome. Yeah, likewise, man. I've been aware of Gelotto for quite some time. Juno being Juno, we've actually got 11 projects now recorded on the Inside Scoop. So for a chain it's dead, we're quite busy covering projects.
Yeah.
Before we dive deep into Gelotto, would you mind explaining what you guys individually do on the project, please?
You first, Daniel.
Sure. You want to take it, Jack?
Okay, I'll go first. Yeah, Risby and Daniel are the co-founders. They're like best friends from New York. They've been on so many projects together. I've lost count. Each of them has over 10 years experience or so in software. Risby does our kind of our DevOps and infrastructure. Daniel does all of the hardcore, like full stack, line by line coding, the nitty gritty stuff. I can't code my way out of a paper bag. I'm actually a patent lawyer for my day job, but I do most of the team's technical writing, our white papers, grant applications, things like that.
Awesome. And well, when we know that what you guys are doing, can you maybe, for someone that's not so familiar with Gelotto, real quick, introduce the project, give us a 1 minute elevator pitch.
Jacob, you want to take it
Ah,
first?
He just took the
he's
last
punting.
one.
All right. Gelotto essentially is games of chance on the blockchain. In its name, is Gelotto. We start out with lottery games. We've also recently launched an NFT raffle. We did Super Bowl squares, like kind of sports betting. We're going to start making some other games of chance, like dice, slots, things like that. But generally, randomness and games of chance, the blockchain, where you can bet your Juno or other tokens and win or lose. And all of our randomness is done kind of through these blockchain metrics. Our original white paper actually started, we did randomness using like a bunch of seed and hash values based on like when people buy tickets and random factors during the times it happens, numbers of stuff going on, and kind of make it almost like crowdsource randomness. And that's kind of the topic of our first white paper. As time's gone on, we've gotten into like kind of bigger and more complex concepts. I guess probably over 60 seconds now, but we've gotten into, I guess, our idea of like staking is the house, kind of like crowdsourced like liquidity for games, and then also we're coming out with new NFT based game. It'll probably come up while we're talking later. That's kind of our elevator pitch so far.
Awesome, great.
Awesome.
And why have you decided to build that? What's your mission? What's the vision behind the project?
Games are fun.
Uh, yeah. And, the whole project happened organically. I was making some Risby, very subtly encouraged me to look into blockchain programming. And so I did. And I started making some UI demos of some like lottery interface, hypothetical one at the time. And he would take them and post them on Reddit and they get positive feedback and people saying, oh, you should do this. And so, we did. And a lottery seemed like a nice, simple place to start with Cosmo modern programming. At the time, there were even fewer resources than there are now. So, you don't want to get in over your head and first thing you do. So we did the lottery and, honestly, a great experience doing that. And it was coupled around the same time we released the token. I got that on the, on Osmosis and Juno Swap. And that was another like amazing eye-opening experience for me personally as well. I'm sure for Risby too, just to see all of the engagement and to actually, behold this initially made up token trading. And now, it feels real. And, it kind of opened my eyes up to the entrepreneurial opportunities in Web3 that, I hadn't really like started to understand before. So that's the long answer to why we started with that. In my perspective, gaming is a great and fun and engaging area to be working in. And as time goes on, we'd like to kind of expand in multiple directions because there's just so much to do in this space. From the simple to the complex. And there's just a lot of opportunity to contribute not only on like the product level and the applications level, but also on the engineering and development level, so it's kind of like a very rich, fertile soil to be working.
Yeah, big picture, like
I mean, at the
oh, go
heart
ahead,
of
Rudy.
it, I was just gonna say at the heart of it, like Daniel and I have been part of what 1.0, 2.0. We're engineers. We love to code. So even though you look at Gelotto, you might say, "Hey, this is a gaming company, NFT company, or infrastructure company." At the heart of it, we're a software company. We build useful things, tools, games. Staking as our house is our first DeFi product that we built. And as we build more and more things, our goal is to try to make things easy for people. Right now, there's too much of a barrier to get into Web3. You got to learn how to
Yeah.
use a wallet. You got to
Yeah.
figure out steps you got to go to and how to get your money across. My wife can't do that. My father-in-law can't do that. But our goal is to build stuff so those people can come in, play a simple game, do some betting. So that's what
Or
Gelotto's
create
about, and
their
that's why we give everything away, because as we sort of figure these things out, give it to the next set of people. That's where all of our code is open source, and it'll continue to be open source.
Plus, looking at the crypto landscape, like most of the crypto analysts say, like crypto gaming is the up and coming next big thing, all these cool games. And so, it's a good area to be in. Everybody and their mother is making a DEX or, I don't know, liquid staking or some kind of DeFi thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of boring. You see a million of those, whereas games are fun. At the end of the day, when you look at a crypto project, a token's not going to go up in value unless the actual project makes money. It's got to be something people want to use and pay money to do. And so, games are fun, especially when the economy gets a little better, God willing. Then, people play games in their spare time. And like Riffy was saying, our target is kind of as ancillary to Gelato as we make these useful tools. And we compare, for a fiat on ramp and like, a mobile app, then someone could use their credit card to buy Gelato. All the crypto happens behind the scenes. And, suddenly your wife on the toilet could be playing games on the internet and not have to mess with crypto. And, you know, I guess the more we can approach normal people and make this seamless, all these ancillary tools, that's like useful in addition to being a fun gaming platform.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
From,
Please continue.
from an engineering standpoint, you know, every project seems to come along and they kind of, it's understandable that they build it pretty much exactly what they need for what they're doing. But this, the blockchain being what it is, once you put a contract out there and you explain what, the interface to it, anyone could go and hook into it, in their own smart contract. So it's like really just one big back end, it's one big server, all of the software as all the contracts are like libraries that you can plug into and one big runtime environment. And it's like, it's nice to put things out there. We have like, for example, some utility contracts that just basically keep an authorized, like a list of who's authorized to do what actions. And so we have like admins and we have this contract that's kind of an access control list, and all of the different games that we have, they can like refer to this list, and so like slowly we're putting these fundamental capabilities out there that if we did a better job marketing them, other people could and would use as well, just like as the building blocks that you as a developer have come to expect from normal, like, you know, web frameworks on the back end.
Quick question. I want to hear your opinion. What sets blockchain technology apart from traditional technology? I suppose that's the reason why you've entered this space in the first place, but this would be the main driving force behind explaining to people why you would make the jump from Web 2 to Web 3. What sets it apart?
I think the simple answer is going to be accessibility and power. The fact that anyone, regardless of you living in New York, Africa, the Netherlands, you can come and deploy something to a blockchain like Juno. And the fact that it's powerful in the system that the United States tomorrow is like, hey, we hate Bitcoin, we hate Juno, shut it all down. You can't do it. Like China has tried multiple times to shut down Bitcoin and they barely made a dent in it, right? So the fact that you have this big, powerful system that anyone can build on, no one can censor, and it's accessible to everyone, I think that makes it truly powerful. Like Internet 2.0 made incredible applications and incredible things. But the things that we saw happen is they became centralized entity. Today, if Google hates you or Amazon hates you or something like that, you're blacklisted. Can't do anything. But in an environment like Web3, you can keep building useful stuff. And as long as people are using it, enjoying it, in some way, you're capturing that revenue. So Web3 is powerful. And I think, we want to show people that, yes, you can build traditional apps here. It doesn't just have to be, as Daniel said, Dexes or something to do in money printing. And the more we have normal apps coming here, the more we have normal people coming here. Like this is the next into that. And I hope more people see it that way. versus a financial instrument to make money or lose money.
Yeah, that also makes it kind of like
And
community owned in that sense. Like, are we really running Gelato, or have we put all these smart contracts into the blockchain and now anybody could make a front end that goes and plays Gelato they wanted to? At that point, we just have a web page that touches our smart contracts. They're out there for the universe and they do what we made them to do. But
right,
yeah, I mean, at that point, like it's almost like it's bigger than the internet. It's like this, durable blockchain that anybody can make a front end and access.
normally what you do when you build an app is you get some servers, to run your back end code. And, it's going to cost between 70 to a few dollars to a few $100s a month. And with, blockchain, you pay to deploy your, get your source code uploaded to it. And then, it's available, like they're saying, for anyone to use at any point in time, as long as it stays there. Um, and, you're not paying for a server to host it. If something has utility or something is truly entertaining, or it's great that you can actually make it live as long as the blockchain lives, and you're not trying to pay for it and ask for donations. But even there on the donation side, just the ability to do random things, like to financially, point, you know, to send the equivalent of 1 cent to some random address as a side effect of doing something in your program, like that, what we're doing with staking as the house, to allow an arbitrary number of people to share the revenue generated by the games on the platform. Like, how would you go about doing that? With the credit card processors and normal APIs that you would use to do it, like a traditional Web2 app. It's just,
Yeah.
it's so much more flexible and mind expanding, in this sense than just
I mean, it all hinges
Web2.
on that seminal Bitcoin thing is we avoid the need for a trusted centralized third party to handle that. It's handled now just by computers.
I'm going to jump in. If you guys are developing some other stuff like you mentioned before, have you got any alpha you could share on a screen share? I'm quite happy we can demonstrate to the community what's coming up and currently what is developed on Juno. I would love a little demonstration if any of you
Yeah,
guys have got the ability to do so.
Daniel, any chance you want to show a Mortal Coin Bat, our first game powered by Taking of the House?
Sounds brilliant.
So staking is the house, hands down the coolest thing about Gelato, I think, in my opinion. So like everybody on the platform who owns Gelato tokens can essentially stake them. Not traditional staking like in Cosmos, sort of like inflationary APR, but like they put them in essentially a giant pool that becomes the house's money. And so when someone logs on to Gelato and plays a game against the house, they bet money. They might win, they might lose. If they win, that money comes out of the stake pool proportional to everyone's individual stakes. You might lose money. If they lose, that money goes into the stake pool proportional to everyone's stake. Now, these are casino style games. The odds favor the house. So if a million people play, more people should lose and win. So over time, the stakers slowly accrue revenue. As the more Gelato gets played, and based on the outcomes of those games, people make money staking as the house. It's kind of this innovative way to, I guess, crowdsource liquidity for a project. Any number of people can essentially become the liquidity against which games are played. I think Daniel and I were talking about this last time. It's almost like a little bit more generically applicable to other things. Like it could be other kinds of ventures too. We use it for gambling games, but like, if someone else wanted to crowdsource liquidity for a project, whatever you want to have sitting on the other end of that, whether it's a game or another kind of contract or project, then the people who stake could just kind of share equally the revenue or losses of that project. It's kind of a neat, innovative idea, I think, just a way that the community can kind of collectively participate in the risk and revenue from something.
As I've been working on this for the last month, and as I've been working on it, kind of the more general utility has become more apparent to me. And that tends to happen. I tend to overgeneralize maybe sometimes, but in this case, it's cool to be working on something that will let you basically crowdsource liquidity, as it were. I don't know what the most, I'm an engineer, I'm not like a finance person, but the idea is to have collective ownership over the revenue that's generated by some enterprise. And to the extent that that enterprise generates revenue through smart contracts, those smart contracts can feed back into this collective revenue stream. And, and to the extent that you've delegated to it, you can extract your rewards, at whatever rate you'd like. And there isn't any kind of additional technology required to run it or to calculate the rewards on some schedule. And so, it would be in my dreams, I think about, oh, what about other projects out there? What if there are valid uses of this? Like some company wants to use it to raise funds. And so they're going to create like a pool, allow people to delegate to it, to give it liquidity to spend in return for the promise to put some revenue back into this house pool to, reward the stakeholders. So it's kind of like, in my mind, it feels like something that's sort of like stocks, but it's like a stock where your shares or the value of them is directly proportional to the revenue that's generated through
Yeah.
your company. So it's like, it's not some correlation, like
It's
stocks
nothing.
where,
It's not inflation or anything like that linked to it. It's just like whatever's going in the pool is simply what is circulating.
Little question here, as and we have a legal guy here, so probably the right person to ask. Isn't this kind of a problem with security laws?
I mean, according to the US, every single thing is security. We've actually found in the crypto world, a lot of like people don't want to partner with us or touch us, not because of what we're doing, but because we live in the US. And essentially, the SEC has declared that anything that might go up or down in value based on the actions of like an entity is like a security or to come after your butt. And I don't know how I feel about that because I mean, if I take good care of this T-shirt, it's going to retain its value. So my T-shirt's now security. I better not give it to you. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. That's a battle for like the Coinbases of the world. We're not going to mess with the SEC. I mean, I think we're too small to get sued by the SEC right now. But if they come after us, we'll do our best.
right. I mean, and I don't think they'd come after us guns blazing. They could first be like a warning or a cease and desist or something that we could, respond to. So I'd
But
rather,
beyond
get
that,
slapped on the wrist.
we're also just setting, because we want this to be a scalable thing that we can grow into the future. So we are looking to set up a legal entity, a BVI, start blocking out in areas where we can't start getting gambling license. Because right now we're still to me, it feels like we're still building the foundation, the theories, as the laws get figured out, it's like so much black and white now. But while we do that, we're setting up the legal entities. And that's no hope. I'm hoping that, as we grow into this, maybe we have some opportunity to work with our, lawmakers to help sort of guide some of the laws. Like, it's still relatively new, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to help. So we're pursuing the legal options as well to make this a proper venture. I'm also hoping that the U.S. government stop being assholes in the future.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 200
Well,
countries in the
please.
world, and like 9/10 of them haven't even decided what crypto is yet. So I mean, what we're doing and what's the
Yeah.
security, that's a question for tomorrow.
Hey, Daniel, is Mortal Coinbat ready for
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good my video quality is, but let's see.
Yeah, the
Um,
general big summary
Let's
is
see.
staking is the house contracts are done and written. So our very first game, our proof of concept, will be very simple: flip a coin, and that'll be our first game of chance to make sure money's going in and coming out of the stake pool accurately.
Cool, man. Okay, so the screens come up very nice. Thank you very much.
all right. Cool. Yeah. So, this is, as I said, this is basically an elaborate coin flipper, and the proceed, it's connected to the house staking contract. So all the funds are coming and going into that collective pool. And so, instead of, I just was kind of, state of consciousness creating this thing. So instead of just a normal, like, flip a coin, heads or tails, there's actually like named heads or tails. So you have like American football versus football, brains versus brawn, Will Smith versus Chris Rock, and so the idea here is that you select one or more coins based on how much potential growth you can get from flipping it and what the relative risk is. There'll be some info bubble that pops up about the risk, but basically the size of this bar is supposed to indicate how much, how large your risk is in terms of how much you're putting on the line. And the color is a reflection of, the odds. So the redder it is, the worse it is. So this is a terrible bet right here, I guess. So I'll just click a bunch of times on him, and I'll do some bud over there, and try here, and do some money, because money is more valuable in time, apparently. And then once you've selected them all, you just come down here, click fight. I don't know if you're seeing this, Kepler pops up, approve the transaction. And once it comes through, it does a little animation. See, I didn't
Nice.
win anything here, so it just stays gray. Over here, looks like I didn't get so lucky either. And then once it's replaying the animation here. That's what I'm working on now. It's a little bug. I haven't released this yet, so that's why it just replayed. Once you're done, you click continue, and then you make your choice again. And so, here it's kind of like mixing and matching your odds with a bunch of different coin presets instead of just having like, 3 coins or something. So, I had fun making it.
Where's
And
the
so
risk coming from? So are they
the
not,
risk.
are they all 50-50 like a usual coin flip, or why do they have different odds, different risks? So yeah.
Right. So the different risks is just that they all have different odds. And so the issue is how to display that in a way that's not, discouraging, rather than showing like, oh, your odds, you have like 1%. I mean, the odds here, they range somewhere between like 10% and like 75%. And, so the ones where the odds are greater than 50%, the growth is one of these numbers that's below 2. So like 1.16, 1.05. Um, where the odds are less than 50, the odds are higher, like 4x, 6x, and so on. The risk thing over here is kind of a work in progress. I'm not exactly sure how to represent it in the most intuitive way, but it's maybe it would be better to show like some 2 distinct representations, one for odd, like, or just one just for your odds. But I wanted to do something that was more,
Different. Yeah.
rule of thumb, like, rather
Mhm.
than,
So
so
risk is
yeah, I
two
don't know. I don't know
factors
what
then.
the best metaphor is.
It's like how much you're
It's risk
betting and
reward.
and the odds. It's like a factor of both of those things.
Yeah, how much
Okay.
and how risky and how likely it
So
is to win.
so how much is like the protocol is telling me you need to bet 1 Juno if you want to flip this coin, or whatever it is. So I cannot
Yeah.
choose the amount of money I want to bet on a coin.
Well, the coins have different values. So over here,
Okay.
this one, the PlayStation versus the Xbox, it's $100 per bet. So if I increment that up 5 times, then that's 500 GLTO because I'm placing
Yeah.
5 bets. So
I see.
because, on blockchain, things are kind of slow sometimes to do one transaction after the next, I just packaged in the ability to do multiple flips in the same transaction. So it'll do 5 flips when you
Yes.
submit this. So yeah, that's what that is. And it's incrementing up. And so over here, Michael Jordan, I'll put 10 on him and fight. We're going to be using randomness from noise.
I was just going to ask that, like, are you incorporating anything that Noise are doing? What do they use? Is it Drand? Using the power of Drand?
Here, let me stop sharing. Yeah, it's exactly that's what it's DRAND or
Yeah.
DRAND or Dr. Rand, however it's said. Yeah, and their team is like highly responsive, very competent, engineering, and
Yeah.
it's been really great working with them. Doing I had to do a pull request, against I had to work just some modifications to their code recently, and that went really smoothly. And it's great to be hooking into it because it'll unlock a lot of things that we haven't been able to now because of the overly naive way well, not overly, but just the basic way we're doing randomness now. There's certain vulnerabilities, and in order to avoid them, you can't do even what seemed like simple things, which is like end a game and pick a winner in the same transaction as the last person buys a ticket. Because you don't want them to be able to, influence the randomness or something.
Yeah.
It seems like small thing to 5 random numbers, but honestly, so many applications can use randomness in so many different ways. And we got it set up. We established an IBC channel between Juno and Noise, and successfully, on my end, I successfully was able to request and receive randomness to the
Yeah.
contract. So I know that's working, and that'll be one of
Because
the last things I do in this mortal coin bat is like enable that. So I put a
Yeah.
switch in there to say now get randomness from Noise rather than
yeah,
the other
that's
way.
excellent. They use like Drand bots. I presume that's the job of the Drand bot, and then obviously and it receives back and forth from IBC protocol, which is interesting stuff. Let's touch on a little bit more on randomness. What else can you expect to see or solve with randomness on blockchain? Is this like the game changer for betting platforms and more randomness technology?
I don't know if you guys have any ideas yourselves, but I mean, I'm a very abstract thinker, and the ability to not only generate random numbers, but to select things at random, to select things, and you can select things at random in different ways, either uniformly random where everything has an equal chance, or you could select things randomly based on some weighting. And so kind of weighted selection can be applied to things like decision making, or, votes weighted on randomness based on how much delegation you have, for example, Um, so those things can tie into uh, more social aspects where you have like a lot of people and you want to kind of, you can't pick everybody for something, but you can pick some number of people in a way that's fair, which means according to, you know, um, stake or reputation or whatever it may be in the application.
It's funny, you're describing a very exact need for us that's coming up very soon. So as part of the new game, we're going to be launching Gelato Monsters Unleashed, which is a play to earn monster battling, customizing, creature game. So part of that, there is about 1,000 Genesis eggs and other NFTs that we plan on airdropping to people within the Cosmos ecosystem. So part of this is for every criteria you met, like, staking in a certain LP, validator, or holding a certain type of NFT, you get a certain number of tickets. And the goal is we're going to use noise to basically determine who's going to get some of these rare NFTs that we have and other NFTs as well too. So, our need for being able to fairly decide, such a limited amount of stuff across so many people, maybe 50,000 or more people. So it's going to be interesting to sort of use noise and use that type of randomness, sort of pick this group of people. And I think that's going to be the start of it. This is going to unlock so many other random things you could do. Gaming's the start, picking stuff at, people and whatnot at the start. I think this is going to be crazy times.
Yeah.
And
And potentially Juno
it
getting down
goes
to
deeper.
3-second blocks as well sometime soon, we reckon. Interesting time.
Let me jump in and bring it kind of back a little bit more to Gelotto itself, and especially the economics. You have heard Jacob in the beginning talked about like the importance of creating revenue and like that you have the token. So I was wondering, like, where are the revenues that Gelotto is generating coming from? Like, what's the revenue model, and how is that distributed to token holders? So if I'm a Gelotto token holder, how will I benefit if Gelotto becomes super successful and has millions of players?
All right. So let's say I'm a person and I want to play Gelato. So I'm going to go like to Osmosis or Wind or something. I'm going to buy some Gelato tokens. I'm going to then go on the Gelato and I'm going to play some Gelato games. Every time I play a game, Gelato takes a 10% cut off the top. That goes to fund Gelato's annual grand prize game, season future prize pools. Also, 3% that goes to holders of Gelato's Series 1, 2, and 3 NFTs. So that's one way you can benefit. If you own Gelato NFTs, you can get a share of every game played in Gelato. And now, when that guy plays against the Gelato house, he might win, he might lose. Over time, as lots of people play, they on the average lose. So that money goes to our stakers as the house. So then they're getting money every time someone plays against Gelato and loses. They then take those Gelato tokens. They're going to go sell them on Osmosis for money. And then that repeats. A player comes, buys tokens on Osmosis, and plays Gelato games, and so on. So that churn of tokens, every time the game's played, the NFT holder gets money. Every time a game is lost, staker as the house gets money. And that process repeats. Just more people play Gelato, the more revenue gets generated.
Awesome. And you get a cut of those revenues generated for the company, so you can push on with the development, I assume.
Not the company directly. So everything goes. So within our tokenomics for both GLTO and upcoming beef, there's a portion of it dedicated to that dev team. But from the actual revenue from the platform, we don't get anything from there. But we do have other sources. Where this is where the infrastructure side of the company comes in. We run a variety of validators across Cosmos. We're in active set, I believe, for either 9 or 10. We also plan on going outside of Cosmos, going to near Ethereum, Avex, and things like that. We make money from our NFT sales. We also have a lot of merchandise as well too. So it's like, as we're building Gelato, we're building all these incredible IPs. Like we have something called Monstros, Cream Queens, and due to those brands, now we have a shit ton of merchandise as well too. So we don't make any money off the actual platform, but as people use our stuff, obviously our token value goes up. But we also have other revenue streams coming in to help out.
With the one caveat that once we have this game rolled out and then we have staking of the house in play, we'll be staking some funds through there. So Gelato will also be earning through that. And, we're not going to remove the stake because we want there to be sufficient liquidity for everything we do. So we'll put a lot in there. But that will go back into funding the project as
I'm
well.
staking my
One thing we
Gelato.
didn't want to do is we didn't want to come into the space saying, hey, we just want to be a project, we want something that's long-term and sustainable that's going to give us good growth. So we came in with with an idea of like, hey, if we're going to build a decentralized Web3 business, how do we go about doing it? A lot of the current business practices that exist within current Web2 and whatnot, like those work for a reason. And that's the reason why we're applying it here as well too. In all, in our tokenomics, how we build our games, there's always value capture put in, because if you look at a lot of protocol today, if you don't have proper value capture, then your value is just going down, and what your team can do sort of becomes limited. So we try to build those practices into everything we do. And the hope is by keeping it decentralized, by having a strong, team and having a strong community, that we can build something that becomes like a sustainable long-term, business that works.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's definitely in the very early days of Web3 businesses. One thing we have seen, and those tokens, those are really struggling now because they were just like, yeah, let's put that token in because we need some money. So we need something to sell. We sell the token, but that's where the tokenomics considerations ended, and there's no value capture, nothing. And now those tokens are just slowly bleeding out to zero. So super cool to see that. There are teams like you guys that really putting that thought in from the get-go when they design the whole thing and be like, no, there needs to be some value that flows into that token. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. Otherwise, it's not a
I'll
sustainable
be
business
honest to
model.
you, like we started like Gelato like almost 2 years ago, even before Daniel started coding. We're like, hey, this is something we definitely want to do within Web3, and we kind of some rough ideas. So even I remember when we early on built up the tokenomics, we built out the concept of staking as the house. We're like, hey, this thing is like a year away. And it's kind of crazy to see it all actually come into reality. Some of the assumptions we had of what people were going to do with our asset or how the values will go, like those things are kind of playing out. And there's other things that aren't working out the way we thought. So we're having to adjust. But I love that it's such a beautiful dance. We won't get it right. But I love that we can pivot and make, hopefully, enough right decisions to help us go where we need
The
to.
timing seemed to work out too.
Yeah, and I think,
Like Gelato landed in the bear market. Like if Bitcoin was $65,000 right now and nobody cared, they were buying everything, thinking it would go to $100 just because it's crypto. Like people be too crazy. Like right now, we have to think about these things because we're building during the bear market.
Yeah.
So we want to be poised for the next bull. Like we want to be the one that makes
Yeah.
it. We want to still be here like Amazon. We don't want to be like like I know some crypto didn't make it. Is Nano still around? Like everyone thought that was going to be a big thing 2 bull markets ago.
yeah, I mean, it's going to, that's another topic where it's going to be very funny to see, like, if we compare in the next bull, let's say the top 20 compared to the top 20 that we had at the peak of last bull, and be like, yeah, which of those projects are still going to be around? Because
Yeah.
if we go by history, the top 20 at the end of next bull will look very, very different as it looks right now, or as it has been looking at the top of the last bull
Just
market.
about
So
1 year
it's going to be
ago,
very interesting.
just about, yeah, I guess it was about 1 year ago, 51 weeks ago, Luna was the top 10 crypto, and everyone was so happy that UST was the de facto stablecoin in the Cosmos. We were so proud of that. Then about 1
Yeah.
week later, shit went to hell.
It's crazy, like how stuff changes, how quick it goes.
It was
in
like, yeah,
crypto.
everyone thought Luna was a well-deserved top 10 crypto.
Mhm.
Yeah, and people were like, "Oh, this is going to be a top 3, and this is like a project that changes the finance, and we will have a fully decentralized stable coin, and everyone will use it all over crypto." And man, it crumbled so quickly. To bring it back again to Gelotto, so I think from what you've heard earlier on, you guys see yourself mainly as a gaming company, right? The space that you're serving is gaming. So what do you think needs to happen in Web3 gaming to get it the next million users, the next 10 million users on the blockchain into Web3 gaming? And what are you doing to be part of that? Like, how are you solving that real issues that we have as larger, I would say, as an entire space right now? Because there's definitely a disconnect between Web2 gaming user adoption and Web3 gaming user adoption, and some stuff that has to be sorted out. So what are you doing there? What are the major pain points?
My dream is like a
At the
fiat on-ramp and like, a phone app, like, and crypto happening behind the scenes. Like that's my dream for Gelato. Like if we can get that coded or if someone else gets those tools coded, like at that point, crypto is just happening on the back end. It doesn't matter if it's Web 2 or Web 3. A normal person just thinks he's going to a web page. So I mean, if we can make it as familiar to a user, then that's golden there.
I mean, even beyond that, like if you go to any traditional Web2 app right now, you can instantly log in with your Google, other provider, and then the entire account, everything is created for you. We're looking to sort of bring that type of easy onboarding into the ecosystem. is I know there's a variety of projects that are dealing with, hey, connecting existing Web 2 providers, managing your keys, everything for you. So we're looking at solutions like that, or even potentially building something like that ourselves. But that's the ultimate goal. Even like building out things like mobile apps, making it easy for people to figure out on-ramp, adding the integration to connect into existing, identity providers. So I think once we can sort of make things a little bit more familiar to the current, user base of people who currently play games, I think that's what's going to allow people to jump in. Say, when you use Web 2, no one knows you're running on Amazon, Google, or whatever the case, wherever the hell you're running. You're just using a platform, it's all seamless to you. And we want to bring the same exact thing. Like Juno's great, whatever wearables, wherever else we might expand to will be great. But no one needs to know it's crypto. No one cares about that. They just want to play something fun. And once they're done playing, they need an easy way to take their stuff and go. And that's exactly what we want to provide for them.
Right.
No one's got that from Dal Dal. If you check out our last episode, he's created a way where your web wallet connect the Discord username, and it's so familiar to a Web 2 login, and therefore you're connected to the protocol.
It's funny. I actually sent that to Daniel. I saw that post on,
Yeah.
I think it was on Twitter. And I was like, hey, this is something we definitely got to fucking look into.
It's interesting that you
Web3
mentioned that then, that you've got the same
And
vision.
imagine if so much time, think of all the blockchains that have just come out this year. It's like there's still constant development in the blockchain space, but there's not much effort put into this fundamental usability issue. And it seems like you ask anybody, they always bring this up, like the friction, the difficulty, and how cryptic it is, and how much you need to understand just the overall burden of it. And it seems like from a business perspective, that's like one of the most important things that you want to reduce. If you want to actually build services and products that do generate revenue, a business, in other words, like I would think that needs to be urgently addressed. It's like, I've heard a lot of really great new blockchain technology that's come out this last year, but it's like, there's still this universal question of how are you going to get people to use it? It's like, it seems like it's never really fully addressed.
I feel like this is a two-part solution or a two-part problem. The first part we're talking about right now is just heavily focused on how do you bring normal users into the ecosystem. The other part you also have to think about because, and sorry that you're hearing Daniel's background, he lives in the hood. So
That is definitely Brooklyn sirens I'm hearing there.
It was actually mine, but I'm currently in Bogota, which is probably similar.
I took the blame.
But back to the two-part problem. The second part of this is because Web3, it is the internet, right? You need to be able to onboard traditional Web2 engineers into the scene. Like Daniel and I, we definitely won't be able to solve every little problem. But if we can get enough engineers to come in, someone's going to solve it. And in some way, we can take advantage of that. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're building a lot of documentation, tooling, open sourcing stuff. Daniel and I are also looking at setting up mini conferences in New York or workshops that we can go and talk to students, other people interested in blockchain tech. Like, hey, this is how you deploy dApp to Juno. This is how you build, a front end for it. We're actually working with Jeet from, Organic. I forgot the name of the project. Agoric. We're looking to set up some type of educational space potentially next week to give a talk and whatnot. I think by focusing on trying to get traditional Web 2 developers in and also trying to get the normal masses in by trying to remove barrier of entry, I think by focusing on these two things will make Web 3 a lot more accessible. And then when you can start building stuff like Etsy, eBay, OnlyFans on Web 3, I think that's when it's all gonna fucking explode.
Yeah, I've one thing is with that you mentioned is I think part of it is a little bit of a Cosmos problem. Like if we look at the EVM world, for example, I have Sequencer wallet where you can use it for any game developer can use that. And then you can use your Google account, your Facebook account, probably, I don't know, the typical Web2 auth that you have. It immediately creates a wallet in the background. You never have to deal with it. And you have the game account, right? Mm-hmm. And then the sequencer itself is a wallet that it creates. So it has all the software that you can then directly integrate within the game to make it native to the game. We have nothing like that in Cosmos. A lot of it is you need Kepler, which is just a subpar experience for gaming developers. I think there is a great business in itself in solving that issues in this ecosystem. And like, I know you guys are like very creative in building. So is this something you're looking at into solving those issues and creating that software and maybe even like build a second business or integrate that in the Gelotto business and like
I
provide
think
that
being a
infrastructure also for other builders?
I think being a software company, that's definitely our plate. Our viewpoint is, hey, this is something that needs to happen. Either we're going to be the people to solve it or take a attempt to solve it, or if someone else has done something that we can take advantage of and build upon that, we're going to do that as well too. So that's kind of where our head is at. We're sort of suspecting that maybe because right now our big focus is build that additional game, prove out like staking of the house liquidity, the DeFi tool works, and expand to other areas of the business. And next year, I want to put that big focus on, hey, now we have all these games, we have all these things, all this activity on the platform. We got to bring in more normal
Yeah,
people.
like the
I think
foundation's
that's
there,
where our
right?
focus will.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly. So we're almost there with building that foundation. And hopefully by next year, someone has something cool we can take advantage of. If not, we'll take a stab at it. And hopefully, I think we'll get somewhere good, and I feel the ecosystem will give it.
UX is almost everything. Like no one's gonna like, even if it's the best decks in the world, if it looks like a kindergartner made it, no one's gonna put real money on it. Like, so Gelotto's got to have a good UX, something very smooth.
Right. And to the extent that we can help solve some of these problems of like onboarding and authentication, I mean, I'm all for it, and we're open to doing things which might not be the most, you know, I think we're Risby and I are kind of on board with that whole, do what's most expedient first. See if just the general principle, the mechanics, the user interaction, the steps in the workflow make sense and work out. And once you've proven that out, you know, go and start abstracting and try to replace the, the more centralized and less secure things with the more fully distributed, Web3 type of, because otherwise we're just going to end up waiting and waiting while nothing happens because it seems so almost insurmountable. That we've already produced some smart contracts for taking care of the things that are not related directly to like to the games. Like, we don't have a database. For example, well, we have a database. We don't have like much of a back end, application. It's like, it's pretty much all on chain to the extent possible, including like a contract that kind of indexes collections of other contracts in order to allow us to, display galleries of raffles, for example, and to sort them and to search them, just collection management, and that kind of fundamental, that's a fundamental need that like so many applications need. Like Risby mentioned Craigslist. Well, Craigslist has listings. Well, if you represent a listing as a smart contract, an individual smart contract, well, how do you keep track of those? So then people they create a database and they store like, they do everything, related to sorting and analyzing the contract data in their database. But now you have this really complex system that has to stay in sync between the blockchain and your servers. And there's always problems with that. Like I won't even go into it, but it's just really painful. So, we've been exploring just trying to do it all through smart contracts and it's been working out so far, which is really awesome, that it's that powerful and that Juno is affordable enough to actually make that happen. And at this point, I want to build administrative tools for other project developers out there, like something known as the admin, page where they can kind of, people who work for the company can go through, see who the users are, see where the posts are, and hide them, show them. They can just administer the application. Like that's what happens in real software companies. And go on, Highlander.
This could be something that Jake's actually doing, man, called the Society. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it is going to create a bunch of like a society of developers and show their workflow, what they've been building, and maybe index it all, like you say, as the admin. Do you know what I mean? And you can filter out what you're searching for. But I think Juno is now starting to catch some momentum. And when interviewing all these projects, I'm blown away. And yet again, I'm blown away by Gelotto and the talent that you're showing.
I know we do a horrible job marketing ourselves and whatnot. Like since we've joined the space, it's a little bit more about just continue to build a foundation, sort of pursue the dream, build a strong community, and we just keep shipping and doing all of that. It's nice that finally, very slowly, people starting to realize, oh shit, they're building stuff that we can actually use. They're actually planning on doing this, that, and that, and we're slowly making it come true.
What do
We
you
just need
think
more
we need
hands at
to
this
do?
point. Like,
So what would you like any advice to give like the communication sub out on, marketing and help promoting projects, because there's a lot of great information we're finding out as a sub-DAO about projects that just no one knows about. Is, any advice you'd give us on what would help you guys or what would help any other projects? Would love to hear them.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like, initially when we first started, there's a lot of trial and error, a lot of things to figure out on our own. Just, a lot of people have a lot of great ideas. They can build a simple something. So having some, like one of the things that, when we met with the archery team, that we liked about their pitch and the way they were going about it is they have some level of people dedicated to onboarding people, working with them, showing them, hey, this is like how you use this common library to do something. So I think it comes back down to there's a lot of people that are interested in getting to Web3. This seems hella scary to them. So what can we do, or what can you guys do to make that easier? I know recently you guys are doing like code and chill hangout sessions, on Discord with, some of the core members. So doing things like that, creating like a cookbook, like the Solana has like a cookbook, but like, hey, this is how you build an application. This is how you do all the common things. It's like more at the focus turns on that. And then you start bringing additional people on board, then I think you'll see that explosion of Juno going even further, because now I have all these engineers working on a common stack and hopefully giving back to it in some way.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
just want to follow up on exactly that. The Solana cookbook, I was in Solana before Cosmos, and that it was really cool to see the developers over there just ramp up on that and just build this very useful cookbook really fast. And it has like, you want to have high level things in it, like recipes. You want to have like how do you programmatically swap tokens, or over IBC, or like compound actions, not just how do you execute your smart contract, but here are common things that applications often want to do. They want to transfer a CW20 token or transfer a native token, just have these recipes, because ultimately mostly, like all applications, it's like the alphabet, you know what I mean? It's like the same letters combined in different ways. And we need to provide those high level components so that developers don't just throw their hands up. I mean, Rust is hard enough to learn as it is, so just trying to get into it, everything is against you. So to have these snippets to use and to understand would be advantageous.
We'll take that back to the DAO, definitely. But yeah, I think we're on the right path for that. And like a cookbook sounds great. And Terra did something very similar, like with, I can't remember what it was titled, but they did really have an education platform where, I can't remember his name, but he just walked you through the common practice of CW development. And it was like, this is cool. I can actually do this.
I mean,
I've heard good
even
things.
beyond engineering, one of the other areas too is like way too many projects, trying to make it super tech heavy. Most of the leaders involved, people involved who are driving a project are technical people. And that's the reason why a lot of tokenomics don't make sense, because you don't have the business financial side looking at it. So bringing on some of that presence on where projects are coming into Juno, like, hey, I'm going to build my tokenomics. I'm going to do this. Being able to provide those types of thinking as well, to be like, hey, you have this cool idea, but how do you make it sustainable and maybe longer term? Could you imagine if Gelotto came in and we didn't have the tokenomics we have? It's something that bleeds money. We'd probably be in a much different place than we are today. So not only helping on the business, the engineering side, but also giving some guidance around tokenomics and how they can expand their operations could also help them. Because the more longer term successful projects are in Juno, the better it's going to be for the chain overall.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the end, Juno is the infrastructure layer, right? And the infrastructure is only as valuable as what's being built on top of it. So in the end, like for Juno to be successful, like the success of Juno lies in the hand of guys like you guys that are building on top of it. And if you guys are successful, then automatically Juno will also be successful. So
Exactly.
it just makes sense that it's the most valuable asset that Juno has is the people that are building on it, and definitely makes sense that the chain puts as much effort and focus into making that experience as good as possible for people building on it, and also making sure those people are successful. I guess that's also part of like what we are doing with the DAO, right? Our goal is to help you guys with promotion, with marketing, because that's what we can do. And if we can promote your project, you get more users, and then that's in the end also good for Juno. So it's in our interest. I think this has been going on for a long time already now. So we've been talking a lot, covering a lot. Definitely. Thank you so much for all that time. Just if people want to get involved with Gelotto, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you guys if they want to get, if they want to have some more questions or whatever?
Yeah, I would say the number one place would be our Discord. Daniel and I are in there every single day. We talk, with our community, and the thing that makes Gelato special is we keep the entire community part of the development cycle from the very first wireframe we do to the first interface to the first thing. We want feedback along the entire way. So if you want to see like a team actually at work, engage with the community where you can come answer the hard questions, go to our Discord. If you want to stay up to date, with everything that's happening with the Gelato, follow our Twitter, Gelato too. Gelato and Gelato One was taken. So I would say those are the two main areas. And if you ever want to talk to us, just DM us. We're also down. We've talked with plenty of random engineers, gave tips, helped people debug certain stuff. So Discord and Twitter are going to be your best places to sort of find out about the Gelato and sort of interact with us.
And thank you so much for coming on the Inside Scoop, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Thanks for the community for watching once again. Thank Lucas, Risby, Daniel, and Jacob earlier on. Take care now. We'll catch you soon.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.